races. All right, everybody, welcome to the call. Appreciate you being on time. This is the Thursday testimonial call. This is my favorite call every single week. If you haven't been on to one of these, it's where everything is completely unplanned, unscripted, and you get to hear from other people around the United States that are just like you, looking to go out there and get started in this business, okay? Occasionally, we'll bring on some vets that have years of experience or people that have been around with Easy for a while. I get some guests on, some CEOs of some processing companies, all sorts of stuff. But 9 out of 10 times, this call is about you. It's about new sales partners that are having success out in the field. And we don't let our guests know what we're going to ask. So it's my favorite call because we get people to just fire off the cuff. And almost all the calls, if you've been on any of these, you hear the things that make successful people successful. They're very common, okay? They're not all the exact same, but you hear a lot of the same stuff. Now that we've done, I don't know how many, over 4 years, but you hear a lot of common traits. Successful people do common things, and that's one of the things I love about this. And tonight we've got a guest. His name is Paul Nilsen. I believe out of Georgia. Paul, give me a second. I got to click through some names. Let me find Paul here. Paul is a rock star. Just got started. Paul, there you are. Paul, are you unmuted, Paul? Unmute. So I've got you unmuted. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yes, I can. Thank you, sir.
Paul, what's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Just living the dream, brother.
That's it. Remind me, did I get it right? You're in Georgia?
That's correct. I'm in Georgia.
All right. So we've got Paul Nilsen on from Georgia. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about himself, but I'm fired up to have Paul because every time I talk to Paul, he's fired up. And that is one of the common things of people that are successful. They're excited about what they have, and they're excited to go out there and offer it to people. Paul, you definitely fall in that category. But before I get ahead of myself, tell us a little bit about you, man. Tell us about Paul. What's your background? It doesn't need to be 30 minutes, but what's your background, man? Do you have sales experience? Where you from? I'll let you go.
Sure. Right. Well, currently, before I took position with Easy Pay, I was in the safety industry, traveling around, working 80 hours a week, 12-hour days, and traveling around. And I was looking for something that I could just, a vehicle that I could do, that I didn't have to count on nobody else but myself. And when I found Easy Pay, that was the ticket. Now, prior to that, I had a little bit of sales experience, but it was nothing like this. This is all on me. My efforts and my returns and benefits are based on what I do, and that's what I like. So, here I am.
So were you in sales? You said the safety business. We don't need too many details, but were you doing sales? Was it cold calling? Were you on the phone, or what were you doing? And what type of experience did you have?
I was a safety consultant for the last probably 5 or 6 years. I got out of sales 5 or 6 years ago, and prior to that, I was actually just selling products door to door, and had a little bit of success, but nothing like what I'm seeing with this.
Awesome, man. I always love asking the question about where people are from, not only to so everyone can get a feel for who you are. Maybe a lot of people will relate, but over the years, we hear people from so many different places. I mean, we've had teachers that have come on here that were just right out of the gate killing it. A safety consultant. We've had all sorts of stuff. So no matter what your background is, all of you listening to this, whatever your background is, you can do this. We've heard all sorts of different people coming from different places on this call that come out and they have success. So, Paul, what brought you to Easy Pay? Obviously, you were looking around. Did you lose your gig, or were you just looking for something that would put you in the driver's seat, or what brought you here?
I didn't lose my gig. I just got tired of traveling. I've got grandkids, and I was tired of traveling and looking for something where, I can go out and work and make a residual income and just have a little bit more life, a little bit more time. So when I looked around, I checked a bunch of things out, man. I mean, a bunch. and it probably took me a week to weed through all the ones, and there was Easy Pay right there, and I'm like, well, this is a no-brainer. So I came aboard last Wednesday, and I've gotten already 2 sales, and I've got my pipeline already lined up for folks to go back on for one reason or another.
And we're off to the races from there. I got to tell you, Paul, I'm blown away. You're talking about grandkids. You've got a voice. You sound like you're in your 30s. I don't know if you ever hear that or if anyone else on here feels the same, but I wasn't expecting that. You sound like a much younger gentleman. So for what that's worth for you. But obviously, we're excited to have you. You got out there. You got to work. Tell us about your first deal. Are you working like right in your backyard? Did you go outside of town? And what was your first deal?
It's kind of funny because I listened to what you guys said. Basically, just to not work your warm market and go out and see the cold folks, and that's fine. It just happened. It was in my route coming home that day, and I stopped at a local hardware store and talked to the guy and signed him right up. There was no, he asked me everything. And I signed him up, and he's actually getting his equipment. I think he's getting it mailed tomorrow or the next day. So he'll be in the next couple of days.
Awesome. And you plan on going down there, plugging that thing in and giving him that special touch?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to try to do that with every one of my customers. Now, the further I get out, I may not, but for the next, I don't know, 50, 25, as long as I can be there when that install is there, I prefer to do that.
Right. I think that's a good idea. And you said something right there. You literally just started. You got out there. You get in front of a business owner, and you just said something I want everyone to understand. You said he asked me everything. So he was asking you a lot of questions, yes, based on what you just said. So this is something really important. At some point, it always comes up on these calls. You go into somebody and he's asking you everything. Let me ask you, did you know everything? Did you know the answers to everything he was asking?
Oh, no. He asked me questions that I had no clue. And thank God I had the gentleman that got me into this basically said, hey, you call me anytime. I had him on speakerphone, and he was able to answer the questions right there, third party, with the actual business owner. And it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
Awesome. So who's your sales partner? Let's give him a little plug here.
Nick.
Awesome. Nick McKnight, you got a rock star. So folks, I bring that up, and it always comes up because it's one of those things that's one of those common traits of people that have success. None of them know everything when they go out. A lot of them just know the basics, right? That's why it's in our big 3. We say learn the basics, print your materials, and go to work. And then there's the number 1 rule, which is call your sales director. And Paul, that's a great example of that. So your second business, tell us about that one. How many days after your first one was it? Was it a follow-up? Tell us a little bit about that one.
No, both of my sales were not follow-up. They were just one time going in and doing the paperwork and signing the agreement. On my second one, it was someone out. It was a cold, out of my warm market. Didn't know who these people were, and I walked into a liquor store and I explained the program to him. And he started asking me questions, and I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get the paperwork. While you're here, we'll go ahead and get you signed up. He kept on asking me questions that were, the right kind of questions that gave me the signal that he was ready to do it. Yeah. So I just made the next move and said, well, let me go get my paperwork, and we'll go ahead and get you fixed up while you're here. Because he was there because they had deliveries and everything else. So same situation. He asked me a lot of questions. I got on the phone with Nick. Nick answered all the questions, and boom, it was a deal.
Beautiful, man. You're utilizing Nick. How many times a day would you say that you're utilizing Nick right now?
Probably 20 times, maybe 10.
20 times, folks. All right, 20 times when he started. Maybe it's gone down to 10. So if you're on our morning webinars, you'll hear us talk about you cannot call too much. We love people that call a lot because they're the ones that right out of the gate we know are going to do well. We know they're working. And honestly, there's no way for you to know everything without doing it, right? There's just no way for you to learn this business if you go out there in the field and you're going to get questions you don't know the answer. If you don't call in, then there's no way for you to fill in those holes. So, man, Paul, 20 times a day, 10 times a day, that is absolutely what our support system is for. I'm glad to see that you're using it. So let me ask you, do you understand more now than you did on your first day?
Yes, I do. I do understand absolutely. And by calling Nick and asking the question when that comes up, it fits into play like a puzzle. So I'll know that next time because it's around that scenario with that customer versus if he told me, over the phone or if I read it, it just fits very well for the knowledge part of it. But yeah, I've learned every time I call, I learn something, and it's just, I feel better now than I did when I started, Wednesday.
Yep. That's why I just drill on this, and this is the number one reason why people fail at the business. For all of you that are on here, if you haven't got your first deal yet, if you're on the fence and you're saying, well, I need to, let me go watch the training videos again, and let me Google this and let me do that. There's a point where that starts harming your business, because here's what happens when you sign up and you get going, you realize you're your own boss. Like Paul said, I'm in the driver's seat. It is on me completely. And you're excited, right? You've got this awesome program. You can walk into any business and help them. You have all that excitement. And then what happens to a lot of people is this fear comes in, like, oh, wait a second. I don't know everything yet. Let me learn everything, or let me learn more than I actually need to know. And then I can go out and talk to people. And what happens is the longer you take to learn, the more that fire of excitement is dying. And people don't buy because you know everything. Paul's a perfect example. We have so many of these calls that are perfect examples. He walks in, someone's asking him everything. He didn't know the answers. But that person bought for him from other reasons, not because he knew everything. That person bought because they liked Paul, and Paul was excited about what he had. I guarantee it. Without ever meeting face-to-face or being at the appointment, I guarantee that's why he bought. So, Paul, you're a great example of all of that. How would you elaborate on the support for the people that – there's literally people that think they're bothering or think that they're going to figure it out on their own, or they'll leave a business and not let us know a simple question and wait till later to tell us. What would you say to people out there that aren't fully utilizing that support and getting started?
Well, yeah, and I'm guilty of that. There was a couple of times where I drove off. I said, well, I should have just talked to Nick and got him on the phone because he's going to steer. If you've tried everything you can, there's a couple of times I was at that point, and I drove off and I said, doggone, I should have had Nick on the phone, because I've noticed that he, basically when I call him, he knows I'm with a customer. I'll say I'm with so-and-so, and he goes right to it with the customer, and steers them, and he answers all their questions. And that second party factor is very important too, especially if you don't know that person when you walk in their business.
Absolutely. There's a reason why so many companies do the third-party verification, and there's nothing wrong. Again, people buy because they like you and they trust you, right? Trust you. So if you go in and you're BSing, people pick up on that, and they're not gonna trust, right? So you're way better off saying, hey, you know what? I'm pretty new to this. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want to make sure that it's 100% accurate. Let's get my director on the phone and just make sure that what I'm telling you is 100% accurate, so there's no miscommunication. And a lot of people are afraid of that conversation, but the truth is that the trust factor is going to skyrocket by doing that. So yeah. You've got that working for you. So Paul, you're obviously excited about Easy Pay. What's the thing that you're most excited about here in your short time here? Been here less than a week. You're already coming up on the bonus. I hope you hit it by the end of the month. And you're about to hit the the $400 bonus in your first week, your first full week, basically. So, what are you the most excited about? And have we lived up to what you're excited about when you jumped on with us?
Yes, everything that was mentioned, and you rarely, well, to be honest with you, I've never seen it. There's always that weird little gotcha or little, everything you said and presented has been 100% from this point on, and I feel like it'll continue that way. The biggest thing that I see is when I go out and I talk to the community, I'm the good guy. Whether they understand it, whether they like it, whether they do it, that has no factor. It's basically I'm going out there and I'm showing them a great way to save revenue as the merchants. And man, I tell you that's it's just an honest, great way to help your community, any community you go into. And where are you going to find that at?
I love that you believe in the product, and I know how much you believe in it, because there's no way the people you're talking to would open their doors to you and listen to it if they didn't know from the bottom of their heart that you believed in it. And something else that's really exciting for you, Paul, when the merchant gets their statement and it is actually $25, $50, and $90, what you just said about us as a company, those merchants are going to feel the same way about, I can't believe I found a merchant company that delivered, because they've been burned. With some story, something has happened in the past, and they're all thinking there's a I gotcha, right? And I'll just tell you right now, a little bit off topic. You go in there and you do your installs yourself, as many of them as you can, as long as they're local, and you just watch what happens. You get that personal relationship. Let them get their first bill. Let them get their second bill. And when they see that they got what you told them, you're going to obviously feel real good about that, which you already do. Wait till they feel good about it. And once you lay that foundation, which you're doing right now, watch those referrals just start flying in when people see that you delivered exactly what you had told them from the beginning. So
I appreciate that, and I feel that, and that's the good part about it. I know everything I'm doing right now, and even the folks I spoke to that have questions, or I've had a couple of them say, well, who else has done it, and this, that, and the other. As it goes, you'll have it just gets bigger and better with that customer. When, oh well, hey, he did it. Go talk to him, and you personally wrote him up, and he's happy. It just snowballs from there,
Yep. And even better, they're just talking and whatever they're doing. They've got some friends or family. They're out at lunch, and it just business comes up, and they say, hey, call my guy Paul. Once you get to that point, you're rolling, man. So have you ever had residuals? Let's talk about residuals real quick. I try to keep these calls short, so I won't keep you on a long period longer, but tell me about residuals. Have you had residuals before? What's your insight on that?
Yeah, I had basically, well, it was a one-time hit on a sales team that I had a long time ago. And for every sale they wrote, I made just a flat rate. But as far as a monthly residual, no. And that's one of the key factors that I'm looking at, because I know today, tomorrow is going to be better than today. Next week's going to be better than last week. And it just keeps on going. But you just have to just keep on going. It's not going to go if you don't go. You know what I'm saying? I have a goal to hit so many people a day, whether it's yes, no, I get beat up, whether even it's a sale. That was my test. My test was I going to go out right after I wrote that sale? Yes, I did. And I finished my goal for the day, and I hit my 25 people. So that shows me, if I'm excited about it and there's no BS to the consumer, man, I'm telling you what, it's just, as far as the residual, it's awesome. I can see where every month's going to get better and better for me.
Man, I love the belief that you have in this. I hope everybody is taking some notes. There's some great things that Paul is talking about here, and it sounds like Paul has been around. And I'll just say, Paul, and to everybody else on here, those residuals, you don't you're not overly focused on them right now, Paul. You're focused on the small things. Paul is focused on what he has control of right now. This is so crucial. I hope everyone is taking that in. he's excited about the residuals, but he's not waking up every day worrying about 6 figures in residual income. He's not worrying about, but focused about, here's what I got control of. Rain, sleet, snow, shine, I can hit X amount of doors, whether they're yeses, no's, sales, or I get beat up, right? He just said it. So
Right.
keep that in mind. Focus on the things that you have control of. And the residual game, however awesome you think residuals are, I'll tell you, they are 1,000 times better than what you think they are once you get them going. But you have to get started. You have to find your daily goals. You have to hit them. And then the time goes by either way, right? Paul is going to be around. I know Paul's going to be around. I know the people that stick around right from the get-go. Paul, you're one of them. And 6 months is going to go by, and 12 months is going to go by. And if you keep that daily focus of, I've got to do this today, this is what I have control of, and then the sales will fall into place wherever they fall into place. Because we know for a fact that it's impossible to focus on what's your goal every day, 30, 25, 40, how many a day?
Yeah, it's 25 minimum. And that's just based on where I'm at,
Yep.
for the week and the day, because I have a goal of 100 to 100 and a half
Yep.
for the week. So that gives me 400 a month. And I've calculated the averages. So I know that I'm going to get 3 to 5 sales a month, if not better, but that's the averages. And so I every day I just need to not worry about, I mean, it'll all come, whether it comes this week, tomorrow, 3 days from now. I mean, I just did it. I did 2 deals in 1 week. So, I mean, right out of the gate, not knowing anything about it. So,
yeah, no, I love it. I was actually going to break down those numbers, and you just did it right there. Paul knows what he's doing, and he has the control. And what I was getting at is either way, the time goes by. All of us are here. We all came from something else. We all had some sales experience or just or have had some jobs. And 99% of the people we talk to are here for the residuals. Actually, 100% of the people we talk to are here for the residuals. 99% of them have never had it. And the mentality that you're sharing right there are long-term, the people that get it. And it just is what it is. So, Paul, I'm just going to ask you one last question. It's the way that we've always ended these calls. It's the last question on every testimonial call that we have. And that is, if you could give everyone on this call one bit of advice to just be successful. It can be about easy pay. It can be about just in general life, about anything. If you could give one piece of advice to people to growing and getting better and thriving, what would that piece of advice be?
go out there, no matter what you do, this or anything else, trip, stumble, and fall. But you've got to be true to your numbers. You've got to get out there. I don't care if we're selling golf balls or whatever. You have to get out there and talk to the consumers. And that's the biggest thing. With this, we're lucky. We've got a great product. They want it. It's going to save them money. It's the real deal. But you just can't be hesitant. You've got to just go out there and do the numbers. It'll all fall into place. And that's all I can tell you.
That's beautiful, Paul. Paul, you got the right attitude. Obviously, you've got the skill. Congratulations on your first couple deals. We look forward to working with you. And to those on here, if you're not familiar with it, if you haven't seen the videos, I have no doubt, Paul, that we'll be hanging out on the cruise ship this December, assuming that by December cruise ships are up and running. Either way, we're hanging out in December at the President's Club. Go get your 50 deals, and we will see you in South Florida. Appreciate you being on here and taking the time, as well as everybody else. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on here. We'll see you next Thursday on next Thursday's testimonial call, where we'll have some new sales partners. If you have not been on this call yet, if you have not got your first deals, make it your goal to be on this call next Thursday. Plug in, call your sales director, folks. Nick McKnight will be running the morning webinar tomorrow morning. Make sure you plug in. Have a great night, everybody. Paul, you're a rock star. See you at the top, guys.
Thank you.